family says I'm being difficult. I'm being clear about my boundaries, and they're the ones making it hard. My mom is standing on my front step with her arms full of grocery bags like she owns the place. My aunt is behind her, craning her neck to look past me into my living room. And my sister is sitting in the car with the engine running like this is a quick errand instead of an ambush. Move, Mom says, trying to shoulder past the door, and when I don't, her eyes narrow like I've insulted her. Don't start, she adds, voice low and warning, the way she used to talk to me when I was a kid, and she needed me to remember who was in charge. I can feel my pulse in my throat. My hands are damp on the edge of the door. I'm barefoot because I wasn't expecting company, and the cold tile under my feet is making me feel even more exposed, like the house itself knows I'm bracing. I keep my body planted in the doorway anyway. You can't just show up, I say, and my voice comes out steadier than I feel. Mom huffs like I'm being dramatic. We texted, she says, lifting her phone as if the screen is a legal document. My aunt chimes in, loud enough for the neighbors to hear through their open windows. It's not like we're strangers, she says, laughing that fake laugh people do when they're trying to shame you into compliance. Mom tilts her chin, eyes fixed on mine. We're here to talk, she says, and then she glances pointedly over my shoulder. And we brought food because we knew you'd be like this. Like my boundaries are a personality flaw everyone has to plan around. Like I'm a storm they've learned how to pack for. It was a Thursday night 3 months ago when I first said the words out loud without immediately apologizing for them. You can't come over without asking. I remember it because I stood in my kitchen holding my phone, staring at the fridge magnets, and I waited for my own guilt to swallow me the way it always used to. My sister, Nadia, had called to tell me she was in the area and she'd just pop in with my nephew. I'd already had a long day. I'd already told her earlier in the week that I needed more notice because I work from home now and my schedule isn't a free-for-all. And I was actually trying, to build a life that didn't feel like it was on standby for everyone else. So when she said, breezy and entitled, we'll be there in 10, something in me finally snapped into place. Not anger, clarity. I said no. Not today. You need to ask, and you need to accept no. There was silence on the other end of the phone, like she couldn't compute that I meant it. Then she laughed and said, okay, drama queen, and hung up. That's always been the dynamic in my family. If I say something they don't like, it becomes drama, attitude, being difficult, or, well, my personal favorite, you've changed. Like changing is inherently negative. Like growth is betrayal. I'm 31. I live 20 minutes away from the house I grew up in, which sounds like nothing. But in my family, it might as well be a different country because it means I have the audacity to say no without them immediately being able to surround me. I used to be the easy one, the dependable one, the one who would pick up the phone, drive across town, fix the problem, soothe the feelings, smooth the rough edges. If my mom was upset with my dad, I was the one she vented to. If my sister needed money, I was the one she called. If my aunt needed a babysitter, I was the one who wasn't doing anything anyway. I didn't even notice how automatic it was until I started therapy last year, and my therapist asked me, gently, when do you rest? And I realized I didn't have an answer. Rest was something I did in between other people's emergencies, and even then it was restless, like I was waiting for the next demand. My dad died 5 years ago. That's relevant, not because this is a grief post, but because after he died, the family structure shifted and somehow I became a pillar I never volunteered to be. My mom leaned harder. My sister leaned harder. Everyone leaned harder because we're family and we have to stick together, and you're so strong. Being strong is such a trap in families like mine. It becomes an expectation instead of compliment. It becomes the reason nobody checks if you're okay. After Dad died, Mom started treating my house like an extension of hers. She'd drop off bags of groceries I didn't ask for and then complain about what I didn't cook. She'd help by reorganizing my cupboards while I was in the bathroom. She'd show up with my aunt and talk about my life like I wasn't sitting right there. If I said anything, it turned into, so we're not welcome now, with that hurt face that makes everyone else glare at you. Nadia would bring my nephew over and let him jump on my couch and eat crackers over my rug, and then say, he's just a kid, when I asked her to clean up. If I pushed, she'd roll her eyes and say I'm uptight. The reason I started setting boundaries wasn't because I suddenly became cold or selfish. It was because I finally reached a point where my body started revolting. I'd get headaches after family gatherings. My stomach would twist when my phone rang. I'd say yes to something and then sit in my car afterward feeling like I was going to cry for no clear reason. I started snapping at my partner, Owen, over stupid things, not because he did anything wrong, but because I was carrying all this resentment and exhaustion and I didn't know where to put it. Owen is the first person I've ever dated who doesn't come from the same kind of chaos. He grew up in a calm home. People in his family ask before they come over. People apologize without turning it into a performance. The first time Owen's mom said, "We'd love to see you, but no pressure," I almost didn't believe her because no pressure isn't a thing in my family. Everything is pressure, even love. Therapy gave me language, but it also gave me a painful realization. I was teaching my family that my boundaries were negotiable. Because I would set one, they'd push, I'd cave, and then I'd feel angry and ashamed and blame myself for not being better. The problem wasn't that I didn't have boundaries. The problem was that I didn't enforce them because I was terrified of the fallout. And there's always fallout. Like now. Like this moment on my doorstep with my mom, trying to push past me with grocery bags like a battering ram. Talk about what? I ask, and I can hear the tightness in my voice. My throat feels dry. My brain is racing through worst-case scenarios like it always does. Are they here to yell? To guilt me? To corner me until I give in? Owen is in the back room on a work call. He has headphones on. He doesn't even know this is happening yet. Part of me wants to call for him like backup. Another part of me hates that I even need backup in my own house. Mom sighs loudly. About this new attitude, she says. About how you've been treating us. My aunt nods like she's at a court hearing. We don't recognize you anymore, she says. I swallow. You mean because I've been asking you to call before you come over? I say, and I hear how reasonable it sounds. That's the thing that makes me feel insane. I'll say something normal, and they'll react like I slapped them. Mom's eyes flash. Don't twist it, she says. You've been rude. You ignored your sister's calls. You didn't come to brunch last weekend. You didn't answer when I knocked yesterday. Because you didn't tell me you were coming, I say, and my fingers tighten on the door. I was working. Mom's mouth tightens. You always have an excuse. Nadia finally gets out of the car then, slamming the door harder than necessary. She walks up the path like she's marching into battle. Are you seriously doing this right now? She says, voice loud and sharp. Mom made food. Annie drove all the way here. You're standing there like we're strangers. I can feel heat climbing up my neck. I didn't invite you, I say, and my voice shakes just slightly because Nadia has always been the one who knows exactly which buttons to push. You can't just show up and demand access to my home. Nadia scoffs. Oh my God, she says, throwing her hands up. Hear that? Access. Like we're criminals. My aunt laughs again, too loudly. She's been watching those therapist videos, she says to Mom, like I'm not standing right here. Something in me hardens. Stop, I say, and the word comes out sharper than I intended. All three of them blink at me like I just broke a rule. In my family, I'm allowed to be calm. I'm allowed to be helpful. I'm allowed to be the peacemaker. I'm not allowed to be firm. Mom's face changes into that familiar wounded look. Don't speak to me like that, she says softly, which is somehow worse than yelling, because it's designed to make me look like the aggressor. I'm not speaking to you like anything, I say, forcing myself to breathe. I'm asking you to respect me. Nadia snorts. Respect, she repeats. You don't even respect Mom. You're embarrassing her standing here like this. I look at Nadia and I see, suddenly, the pattern playing out exactly the same way it always does. They show up uninvited. I say no. They accuse me of being rude. The conversation shifts away from the fact that they crossed a boundary and onto my tone. Onto my supposed attitude. It's a trap. If I start defending my tone, I'm already losing. So I step back, physically half a step into my house, and I keep my hand on the door. You can't come in, I say. Not like this. If you want to talk, we can set a time. Or we can do it somewhere neutral. But you don't get to ambush me. Mum's eyes widen like she can't believe I said it out loud. Neutral, she says, offended. We are your family. Yes, I say. And because you're my family, you should be able to respect a simple request. My aunt leans forward, voice dripping with concern that feels like judgment. Sweetheart, she says, we're worried about you. Ever since you moved in with Owen, you've been different. There it is. Owen, the convenient scapegoat. If I'm setting boundaries, it must be because a man is controlling me. Not because I have my own mind. Not because I'm tired. Owen isn't the reason I want you to call before coming over, I say. Basic manners are the reason. Nadia rolls her eyes so hard it's almost impressive. You didn't care about manners before, she says. You used to be normal. Normal, meaning compliant. Mum's voice gets sharper. We are not going to beg to see our own daughter, she says. I'm not asking you to beg. I say, I'm asking you to ask. Nadia steps closer, lowering her voice like she's trying to intimidate me. So what? She says, we have to book an appointment to see you? We have to send a formal email? Is that what you want? I can feel my hands trembling now, but I keep my gaze steady. I want you to treat me like an adult. I say, not like property. Mum makes it sound like she's offended at the concept. Property, she repeats. After everything I've done for you. That sentence hits my chest like a familiar weight. After everything. The endless debt. The idea that because she raised me, I owe her unlimited access to my time, my space, my emotional labor. I take a breath. You do what parents are supposed to do, I say, and my voice is quiet but firm. And I'm grateful. But gratitude doesn't mean I don't get boundaries. Mum's eyes fill with tears immediately, like a switch flipped. Nadia's face tightens. My aunt's mouth purses like she's witnessing something tragic. It's all so theatrical that for a second I almost laugh, but it's not funny. It's exhausting. You hear her? Nadia says, turning to my aunt like she's building a case. She talks like she's better than us now. I don't think I'm better, I say. I think I'm tired of being treated like I'm difficult for asking for basic respect. Mum wipes at her cheeks and shakes her head, voice trembling. This is what I get, she says. One daughter who doesn't care and one daughter who tries. Nadia straightens like she just received a medal. I feel my stomach twist because that's the oldest story in our family. Nadia is the loyal one. I'm the selfish one. Nadia is the one who shows up, even though showing up usually means taking. And I'm the one who withholds, even though withholding usually means protecting myself. I could fight that narrative. I could list every time I've shown up, every time I've driven Mum to appointments, every time I've babysat, every time I've loaned Nadia money she never repaid. I could pull out receipts, but I know how that ends. They'll say I'm keeping score. I'm resentful, I'm dramatic. And the core issue will still be untouched. So I do something different. I nod slowly and say, Mum, if you want to come over, you need to ask first. If Nadia wants to talk to me, she needs to stop calling me names and respect when I say I'm busy. If you can't do that, then you won't see me as much. That's not a punishment. It's a consequence. The word consequence makes Mum's face tighten, like I slapped her again. Don't threaten me, she snaps. I'm not threatening you. I say, I'm explaining what I will do to protect myself. Nadia laughs, harsh. Protect yourself from what? She says. Your own family? God, you're ridiculous. I feel my throat tighten. Part of me wants to scream, to tell them how small they make me feel, how suffocated I've been, how I dread holidays, because I know it will turn into some emotional hostage situation. Instead, I keep it simple, because simple is harder to argue with. From being disrespected, I say. Mum's voice rises. We are not disrespecting you, she insists. We love you. I nod. I believe you love me, I say. And I need you to love me in a way that respects my no. Silence. Actual silence, which is rare in my family because someone always fills it with noise. Mum stares at me like she's trying to decide whether to cry harder or get angrier. Nadia looks like she's chewing on a comeback. My aunt shifts her grocery bags like her arms are tired. Finally, Mum says, let us in. We brought food. We can talk inside. No, I say. Mum's eyes widen again. Layla, she says, using my full name the way she did when I was a kid, and she wanted to scare me into obedience. Don't do this. I'm doing it, I say, and my voice shakes, but I don't back down. Not like this. You can go home. We could talk later. Nadia scoffs. Unbelievable, she mutters, and she turns to Mom. See? She likes the power. She likes making us beg. My stomach flips, but I don't take the bait. Nadia, I say, I'm not making anyone beg. I'm setting a boundary. If you choose to interpret that as power, that's on you. That line, that's on you, lands like a grenade. Nadia's face goes red. Don't talk to me like I'm stupid, she snaps. I feel a small, strange calm settle in my chest. Maybe because I've said what I needed to say. Maybe because I can see the pattern so clearly now that it's hard to be trapped in it. Then don't act like my boundaries are an attack, I say. Mom suddenly steps forward, trying to push the door with her shoulder again. Enough, she says, voice shaking with anger now. Open the door. We are coming in. My heart thuds hard. Instinct screams at me to move, to avoid escalation, to keep the peace. But peace in my family always comes at my expense. So I hold the door firm. I don't slam it. I don't yell. I just hold it. No, I say, and I look Mom right in the eyes. You are not coming in. For a second, I see something in Mom's face, shock, then rage, then something almost like fear. Not fear of me, but fear of losing control. Because if she can't force her way into my house, then she can't force her way into my life the way she used to. From behind me, I hear Owen's office door open. He steps into the hallway, headset off now, eyes sharp. He doesn't speak immediately. He just stands a few feet behind me like a quiet anchor. Mom's gaze flicks to him, and her mouth tightens. Of course, she says, voice dripping. He's here. Owen's jaw flexes, but he stays calm. Hi, he says politely, like he's talking to a coworker he dislikes. I think Layla asked you to call before coming over. Nadia's eyes flash. Stay out of it, she snaps at him, which is rich considering she showed up at his house to pick a fight. Owen doesn't rise to it. He just looks at me. Do you want to call someone? He asks quietly. Not threatening, just checking. I shake my head slightly. No, I say. I've got it. Mom's voice gets dramatic again, louder now. So you're choosing him, she says, like I've committed treason. Over your own mother. I feel something in my chest crack. Not into panic, but into anger finally. Clean anger. I'm choosing myself, I say, and my voice is sharp enough that Mom flinches. I'm choosing my home. I'm choosing not to be bullied into compliance. My aunt gasps softly like I've said a swear word. Nadia mutters, there it is. Mom's eyes fill again. This is what you've become, she whispers. Cold. I'm not cold, I say, and my voice breaks slightly. I'm just not available for this anymore. Mom stares at me for a long moment. Then she turns abruptly and thrusts one of the grocery bags toward Nadia. Fine, she says, wiping her face. Fine. If she wants to live like she has no family, let her. That line lands the way it's meant to, like a curse. My stomach tightens anyway. My brain immediately offers me the old solution. Apologize, soften, invite them in, smooth it over. Make it stop. But I don't do it. I watch as Mom walks down the path, shoulders stiff. Nadia follows, still muttering. My aunt lingers for half a second, looking at me with that pitying expression that makes me feel 15 again. Then she turns and goes too. The car door slams. The engine revs. They drive away like they came here to drop off a message, and now they've delivered it. I close the door slowly. My hands are shaking so hard I have to press my palms flat against the wood. Owen lets out a breath behind me. You okay? He asks. I swallow hard. No, I admit, because lying feels pointless. But I didn't cave. Owen nods, and his eyes are soft. That's huge, he says quietly. I walk into the kitchen and stare at the empty mugs on the counter, the ones I'd taken out earlier because I was about to make tea. My body feels like it's buzzing, like I'm coming down from a fight, even though I barely raise my voice. That's what boundaries do in families like mine. They turn simple sentences into battles. My phone starts buzzing almost immediately. Group chat notifications. Missed calls. Texts. Nadia, you embarrass Mom. Congratulations. Mom, I hope you're happy. My cousin. Heard you slam the door on Mom? What's going on? And then the message that makes my hands go cold. Mom, don't bother coming to Christmas if you're going to act like this. I stare at that one for a long time. Christmas has always been a minefield in my family. Too much food, too much alcohol, too many unspoken resentments. Every year, I come home exhausted, my cheeks aching from forced smiles. Every year, there'd be some blow-up. Dad used to start it, now Nadia does, and Mom would cry and then act like we all attacked her, and I'd be the one sitting with her in the kitchen, whispering comfort while everyone else watched TV like nothing happened. I used to tell myself that's what family is, that you endure. But I'm not 20 anymore. I'm not stuck. I don't have to endure to prove I love them. My fingers hover over the keyboard. I want to write a 10-paragraph explanation. I want to defend myself. I want to list the ways I've been used. I want to scream that the reason things are hard is because they refuse to treat me like an adult. Instead, I type one sentence. I love you. I'm not coming to anything where my boundaries aren't respected. If you want me there, we can talk when you're calm. I hit send before I can overthink. Owen watches me from the doorway. That was perfect, he says. I sit down at the table, and suddenly I feel like crying, not because I regret it, but because it hurts to realize how much of my family's love has been tied to my compliance. It hurts to see the pattern clearly. It hurts to choose yourself when you've been trained to equate self-protection with selfishness. The next day, my brother calls. He's younger than me, and he's always been quieter, more of an observer. Mom told me you're being difficult, he says, and I can hear him choosing his words carefully. I snort tired. Of course she did. He pauses. Were you? He asks, but there's no accusation in his voice. Just curiosity, like he actually wants the truth. I exhale. I asked them to call before coming over. I say. They showed up anyway and tried to force their way in. My brother is silent for a beat. Then he says quietly, yeah, that sounds like them. That tiny validation hits me harder than it should. I'm not crazy, right? I asked before I could stop myself. You're not crazy, he says, and he sounds almost sad. You're just the first one to say no. We talk for a while. He tells me Mom's been ranting. Nadia's been posting vague statuses about toxic people. My aunt is acting like I joined a cult. It's almost funny if it isn't my life. What are you going to do about Christmas? My brother asks. I look around my kitchen. The quiet. The clean counters. The safety. I don't know, I admit. Part of me wants to go just to avoid the drama. I get it, he says. But also, it's kind of nice when you don't. After I hang up, I sit with that. The idea that not going doesn't mean you don't love them. It might mean you love yourself too. 2 weeks pass. Mom doesn't call. Nadia doesn't call. The group chat stays muted. The silence feels both peaceful and tense, like the quiet before another storm. I notice how my body slowly unclenches. I notice I'm sleeping better. I notice I'm laughing more with Owen over stupid things. I notice how much time I use to spend emotionally recovering from my family. Then Mom calls, finally. I stare at the screen until it stops ringing. She calls again. I let it go to voicemail. A third time. I answer on the fourth, because I'm not trying to punish her. I just need to be able to choose when I engage. Hello, I say. Mom's voice is tight. So you can answer, she says like it's a gotcha. I can, I say calmly. What do you need? There's a pause, and I can hear her breathing. I don't like what you did, she says. You made me look stupid. I close my eyes. Of course, that's the concern. Not the disrespect. Not the boundary violation. The image. I didn't make you look stupid, I say. You showed up uninvited and tried to force your way in. I said no. Mom's voice rises slightly. We were trying to help you, she insists. Help me with what? I ask. My boundaries? She huffs. You know what I mean. No, I say, and I keep my tone even. I don't, because nobody has told me what I've done besides not being available on demand. Mom's breathing changes. I can tell she's holding back tears or gearing up for them. You're hurting your sister, she says instead. I swallow. Nadia is an adult, I say. Her feelings are hers. If she wants to talk to me respectfully, I'm open. If she wants to show up and bully me, I'm not. Mom goes quiet. Then she says softer, so what happens now? That's the first time she's asked a real question instead of making an accusation. My chest tightens. Now, I say, If you want to see me, you ask. If you want to come over, you call first and you accept no if I'm busy. If you want to talk about something hard, you don't ambush me. And if you can't do those things, then we'll see each other less. Mom inhales sharply, like she's about to argue. Then she says, bitter, so it's your way or nothing. I feel that familiar frustration rise. No, I say. It's basic respect or distance. That's how it works with adults. She's silent again. When she speaks, her voice is smaller. You used to be easier, she whispers. I blink hard. I know, I say, because I used to be scared. Mom doesn't respond to that. Maybe because it's too true. Maybe because it threatens her story that I'm just being difficult for fun. We end the call without resolution. She doesn't apologize. I don't apologize. It's messy. It's unfinished. Real life rarely gives you neat closure. But later that night, my phone buzzes with a text from Mom. Next time, can I come by on Saturday at 3? I stare at it for a long time. My first reaction is suspicion. My second is sadness. My third is this quiet, cautious hope. Because that's what boundaries are supposed to do. They're not walls to punish people. They're doors with locks, so you get to choose who comes in and when. I type back, yes. Saturday at 3 works. Just you please. There's a pause, and then, okay. It's small. It's not a miracle. Nadia is still going to be Nadia. My aunt is still going to gossip. Mom is still going to test limits. But that text is the first time Mom has ever asked me like I'm an adult instead of announcing herself like an entitlement. And I know what will happen the next time they call me difficult. I'll feel the old guilt flare. I'll still have that instinct to smooth it over. But I'll also have the truth, steady and clear. I'm not being difficult. I'm being clear. They're the ones making it hard by refusing to accept that I'm allowed to have a life that isn't built around managing their feelings.